Hey, welcome back to the Backseat Driver Show. You're with me, Julian, and together with Idris and John, today we're gonna talk about the top 3 things to look out for when test driving a car. Now, it's a really important thing to take note of, especially if you're out in the market right now trying to buy a used or a first-hand car. John, what do you think?
Uh, I think everyone has to test drive a car, right? It's like, if you don't, it's like trying to buy a pair of shoes without putting them on. That's a bit dangerous. So for my number 3 thing to do when you're test driving a car is to really put the car through its paces. When you have the salesperson next to you and you're driving, he will be there talking, and say, oh, this is that function, this is this function, this is that function. Then they bring you one round around maybe Ubi or Alexandra. Actually, I think you don't have to be paiseh to ask them to bring you for one more round, and you should really, step on it. Don't be afraid to abuse the car a bit, as you would if you were driving your own car. Because if you are very gentle with it, you totally are not driving the car the way you would normally drive, and that's like putting on a pair of shoes and not actually walking about with it the way you would lah. Yeah, so that's my number 3.
Well, for me, my number 3 is very simple. It makes it easier for you to make a comparison with other cars that you're deciding on, especially with stuff like noise, vibration, and harshness levels. If, let's say, you're buying a luxury car and your priority is quietness and how it rides, if you're going to drive 3 different cars on the same day, I'm pretty sure you can make a very clear distinction on which one is quieter or which one is more comfortable on the road. What about you, Julian?
Yeah, you know what? Definitely. I think number 3 that I have is definitely test drive the car. I think John is spot on that you should never be too paiseh to request for a test drive, because this way you'll be able to spot any damages to the suspension or maybe perhaps steering wheel if there are any. Plus, I mean, look on the bright side. I mean, it's always important to get yourself familiarized with the car that you are about to buy or interested in. And it's only when you test drive will you be able to also look out for any warning lights on the display panel, any Christmas lights, any whining, any humming noises. So yes, test driving is definitely important before you decide to buy a car. What about number 2, John?
Okay, for me, this is not so much about the test drive, but maybe part of the purchase process is to actually go and find out if you have an existing car and you're going to buy a new car, is to find out the trade-in price for your car, not only from the dealer you're going to, but maybe even go onto sgCarMart to see what the sorts of prices your car make is being put up for. Or you can go to sgCarMart's quotes service and get your car appraised and see actually how much dealers are willing to pay for your car before you walk into the be it a authorized dealer showroom or a parallel importer or second-hand car dealer showroom, because information is power. You see, if your car it's worth 50,000, unfortunately I think when you walk in without knowing that, sometimes you will be getting a lower price lah, because that's how people try to increase their profit margins by lowering your trade-in price. So it's always good to find out your trade-in price before you walk into a showroom. Sometimes it's a sales tactic. They say, oh, we'll give you this discount if you trade in with us, but yeah, you're inside an information vacuum, right? You don't know the price that they give you, whether it's really the best. So yeah, please go and find out how much your car is worth before stepping into a showroom.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you, John. And it's very easy to find out your own car's COE and path rebates. All you have to do is just go to LTA's website, type in your license plate number and I think, the last 4 digits of your IC, and you at least have a baseline figure to how much the dealers will take in your car if you're willing to trade it in. Because a lot of times, and this I've heard it many times before, people come in with a car and they're only offered the PAF and COE rebate and only probably $1,000 or so on top of that. So
Yeah.
once you know this number, when they tell you this number, you won't be so surprised. So following up with my second point of why you should test drive a car, well, it's very simple actually. It is asking the question whether you can test drive a car, because sometimes it gives you clues, especially when you're looking at a used car. For example, if a dealer tells you that, oh, you can't test drive the car, it's not our policy unless you're committed to buying the car. Now, this is very common, by the way. Sometimes it may not be true. That car might have some problems that are only apparent when you get on the road. So if I were you, definitely take a closer look and see whether it is a good buy or not. At the most, at least start the car and let it idle for a couple of minutes, and then you might be able to find out what is the reason behind it. I remember once, and this is a story, don't mind me going into a story right now.
Go ahead.
My friend was looking for a car, and we found this particular car at a used car dealer, and that dealer said no test drives for this car. So when we actually started the car couldn't really idle. It was fluctuating, it sounded like it was going to stall. And then the dealer said, oh, this is a turbo car, this is normal, it's a cold start, blah, 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 blah. 5 minutes later, the fluctuating never stopped. It continuously fluctuated and the car didn't sound very right. So even though we didn't get on the test drive, starting the car might just give you some answers, whether it's a will buy or don't buy.
Run away.
Run away. Yeah. Julian, what about you?
Well, and I never really thought about this before, man. I mean, honestly, I never thought about what John just said, like, to check out what your trade-in prices would be and all that kinds of stuff. I think mine would be a little bit more straightforward because I remembered when I went to buy my car, which leads to my second point. I actually tried to check for any poorly aligned panels, body panels, and if it was a different shade of color. My car is silver color, as both of you know. So I tried my best to see if there was any how should I put it, if there was any mismatched colors or any distorted reflections and poorly aligned body panels, because that would probably mean that the car or that particular panel has been resprayed before due to an accident, due to a dent of sorts. And same goes for poorly aligned body panels as well. If that happens, could be because an accident had happened before. So that was the main thing that I was trying to look out for. But thankfully, I mean, my car was perfectly fine. I think it's quite difficult if you do it in poorly lit conditions. You really got to do it in brighter conditions to check out for different colored panels or different shade at least. I know there are certain colors that's just impossible. Like for example, black and white. I don't know if you can tell if there's different shade. So what you can actually do is to see whether it's just newer than the rest of them. If it looks, for some reason, just suspiciously cleaner and nicer than the rest of the body panels, then I think it's a little bit of a highlight. That could be a deal breaker for sure, at least for me. So that's something to really think about. John, what about you? Do you have a number one, the top of the list?
I think a lot of us, when we want to buy the next car, it could be we're looking at this dream model. Let's say you made it in life, finally got a huge promotion, then you say you're going to get a 3 Series, the de facto upgrade Continental, I've made it in life car. And then maybe you tell yourself, okay, I should compare the competitors like the A4 and the C-Class, and then you go test these 3 cars, and then you make your decision. But I would say that if you were already going to splash that amount of money, let's say 3 Series about 200k, perhaps you would, aside from testing the A4 and the C-Class, look at what other cars you can get for $200,000. Step out of that mindset that, oh, I need the Continental sedan, and see whether other types of cars in that price range actually opens your mind to other needs and desires that you actually had that you didn't know you had. So yeah, that's my top tip when you are going to test drive a car. Is actually you should test drive as many cars as possible to really find out what type of driver you are and what exactly makes you happy. Because maybe after working damn hard and then you buy the 3 Series, you realize that actually I'm more of a point A to B guy, and this thing actually doesn't make me feel any better. Then you would have actually wasted a lot of money buying the 3 Series. I'm not saying the 3 Series is a bad car, but it's just maybe you're actually just not a 3 Series person, but you didn't know that. You just had this notion in your head that I made it, I have to get this car. But actually maybe you could have gotten a Cooper S and you would be a lot happier, or you would have been a lot happier getting an MPV. Yeah, so that's my top tip.
Right. Well, I agree. Definitely, you should get a feel for the car, especially if you're moving on up and you're looking at getting perhaps a bigger car or a car of a different shape or size. But then again, some people might say that when you buy the car, you can learn to live with it. So I don't know. But to me, definitely you should feel the car before you buy it. My number one reason as to why I like test driving cars, and that everyone should, is because it gives you an opportunity to talk to the salesperson in person, I feel. Because sometimes they will reveal to you the reasons why the car that you are looking at is priced in that certain way. Perhaps there is a margin that cannot be lowered anymore, or there might be some problems with the car that he will highlight to you. It gives you more space to have a chat with the car, and perhaps you will have a better deal. For me, I've chat with salespeople in the car and decided on buying the car right there and then. I remember my mom also bought a car while test driving the car. On the way back to the showroom, she actually asked the salesperson, how fast can I get this car? And then the papers were signed and she walked away with a new car. So yeah, that to me is one of the best reasons why you should test drive the car. What about you guys?
Well, that's something that I learned again. I don't know, because I feel okay. Well, my first point, which I think is the most important point, of course, kind of implies only for second-hand cars, used car. We don't really have this problem for brand new cars, but I think it's a very important point that people out there should take note, and that is to go for an inspection before you get the car. So before you commit to a car, you should actually tell the seller that you would like a mechanic to inspect the car before you purchase it, just to ensure that there aren't any problems. Now, while the mechanic may charge you $50 to $100 for such an inspection, and you may even have to perhaps give the dealer an ang pao of $50 or $100. Am I right, Idris?
Yeah, that happens quite often.
For them to drive down the car to your inspection for your mechanic to actually inspect all your cars and all that kind of stuff. It can be worth it because it saves you from thousands of dollars in potential repairs. Now, some sellers may actually try and dismiss this whole mechanics inspection, and they will tell you, say, no, we don't do these kinds of stuff. Don't listen. Know your rights. Don't give in to them, because the seller could be covering up a serious issue with the car. So either you insist that an inspection should be done, or you should rethink your purchase.
Yeah, I always give this advice to people who want to buy a used car. An inspection with a workshop might cost $50 or $100, but
it's important. It's very important.
I'd rather pay $50 and decide not to buy the car than actually buy the car, finance it, and then realize it's thousands of dollars to get it running again. So always keep that in mind. I agree.
Yeah, but I kind of did it the other way around, actually. I actually paid for the car first and then went to do my inspection. I mean, I did a whole check on the car myself. I did a test drive. I drove really hard myself with the dealer by the side, and I really, how should I say it, gave it the beans lah. I really just whacked the car And then I decided to bring it to the workshop to check it out. And thankfully, my mechanic actually said your car is accident free and it's actually in very tight condition, so nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I think whether it's a new car or a used car, ultimately you're the one who's going to live with it for the next few years, and you're going to pay tens of thousands of dollars. It's always a better thing to just walk away from the showroom if you don't feel comfortable plonking down the money.
Yes.
I think salespeople their job is to try to make you buy. So you must always remember that you shouldn't feel obligated to make them happy, because ultimately you're the one living with the car, and you have to. Okay, maybe it's a bit cynical of me, but sometimes the whole process of the sales process is to make you feel guilty that you're walking away from them. But don't. You're well within your rights to walk away. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad that the salesperson spent like 2-3 hours with you, because they want to spend the 2-3 hours with you so that you want to buy the car. But of course, don't abuse this fact that you can spend 2-3 hours and every weekend you just go and play with cars and then waste the salesperson's time lah. But just know that it's okay to walk away if you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think it's important to know what you want before you really go for it. So, for example, if you definitely want a compact hatchback, you have do your research first before going down for the test drive. So you don't waste anyone's time. You don't waste your time. You don't waste the salesperson's time. You have to be fair, and they're just doing their jobs, and you're just doing something for yourself, which is not. Both of you are not doing anything wrong. So know what you want before going down.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
The only
So-
thing you'll be wasting is your time,
Exactly.
not money. So
Exactly.
that's cheaper, I think.
So there you have it, guys. That's our opinion for the top 3 things to look out for when you buy a car, used or second-hand. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and feel free to comment in the comment box below and tell us what you think you should do before buying a car or test driving a car. In the meantime, stay safe, be well. Thank you for watching.